I pushed myself to the limit. So I learned what I'm capable of, but I also learned something that I take with me to this day is boundaries. That was my last or second to last year at ESPN. I realized what I could do, but I realized that I didn't want to have to push myself that far. You know what I mean? Like it was, I took away from that. Like, you can be incredible, you can do these things, but you don't have to do it forever.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Go in there. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
We're here. Oh, they caught that on camera there,
No
Manny.
way!
Oh,
Oh, no.
oh
Oh,
wow. Manny starts off
no.
the show with a bang.
Put the E in.
Figuratively.
E for explicit.
Yes, yes. And PG-13. Why are you so mad, Mandy? Why are you so mad today?
I'm not. I was just joshing with you. So we started the show. Amani always says, "No cursing," and today I flipped him off. But I didn't realize we'd be on camera. So sorry if I offended anybody on the camera that's watching.
It's okay. It's okay. Okay. So we're here now. How was your weekend? I know you had a nice trip to where'd you go this weekend?
We went to Santa Rosa to
Yes.
see my husband's family. We saw his dad and stepmom in their new house, and then we saw his mom for an early Mother's Day thing yesterday. And we got to hang out. It was really fun. His mom's one of her best friends, who came to our wedding, 11 years ago, who we hadn't seen since 11 years. She was in town too. So we got to have lunch with his mom's best friend and her son, who's my husband's age. And they hadn't seen each other in 30 years. So it was fun. It was a fun trip down memory lane. Yeah, it was good. But it was active because WeCon ended at like 4 o'clock on Friday, went home, unpacked from WeCon, repacked, left really early Saturday morning, turned around the trip and got home late last night. So it's been a wee bit of a whirlwind. But I'm home now till July. I have
Hmm.
little LA trips here or there, but I'm not getting on an airplane again till July.
Oh, nice. That's a really good
Yeah.
break for you. Wow.
Yeah. What
Okay.
about what about you, Amani? What did you do this weekend, and how do you recover from a conference? How did you recover from WeCon?
So after Mandy was so gracious and gave me a ride to the airport, I took
Uber
my plane
Mandy.
home and just kind of rested on Friday. Well, Saturday really. Just didn't do much anything. Did some grocery shopping. Um, Went to brunch. Then yesterday, I'm behind a little bit in grading because we're coming down to the final two semesters. And so I
Mm.
had to try to finish some grades, track some students down for their projects, start some grading. I got a lot of grading to do in the next 2 weeks. And it's projects, which is a little longer. So, yeah, yeah. So that's what I did. And, yeah, yeah,
But
that
you
took
won't
up.
have any classes this week. You're done with classes. Now it's just all grading.
No, no, I have class this next
Oh,
2 weeks. The class is the next two
oh,
weeks.
you do. So you still have to get on airplanes the next 2
Yes,
weeks. Okay.
yes,
All right,
yeah.
gotcha. Racking up those
Really.
points. You're getting that status.
Oh, using the
Yeah.
points too, but getting the
Yeah.
status, yes. So,
All right. I want to ask you, I know you and I just talked about this, but like, what's a unique takeaway from WeCon? So for those listening, watching, WeCon is the Meeting Professionals International, Southern California. It's the annual education conference, which we just attended last week. So what was your takeaway from it, Amani?
oh, one takeaway from WeCon. I was more focused on like, that's interesting. One takeaway, maybe just, there's power when you're in person with people and you can see them and talk to them. And, compared to virtual, there's still just so much power in just being around people and just talking and just doing that. I think that's the takeaway.
That vibration. Like you and I
Yeah.
see each other every week on the screen, but we see each other in person maybe what, 4 or 5 times a year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and we had our little club. We
Yeah.
hung out the whole 3 days. I
Hmm.
thought that was
Yeah.
awesome. It was great to
Yeah.
be with you side by
Starting with
side.
our opening happy hour, and then we did meals, and then yeah, it was really good. The reception, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought that
Yeah.
was fun. I think my takeaway of something I haven't seen before, but I thought they did a really good job was the final day of programming where the Unique Speakers Bureau, which is the speakers bureau that they partnered with, which by the way, if you're looking to work with a speakers bureau, work with them. They did a really good job at getting speakers. But they had so opening general session was 3 TED Talk style speakers.
Yeah.
So each
Yeah.
speaker went for like 15 minutes. Then you're assessing the speakers and making a determination of which breakout you're going to go to after, because the 3
Yeah.
speakers went 15, 15, 15, and then they got like a whole 40 minutes with you after. And the energy was exciting. I felt like we're all kind of looking around like, you going to that one? You going to that one?
Yeah.
And then we were kind of racing so nobody could like, you could get in the one you wanted after. I thought that was a really unique way to program that. And it's always more difficult to program day 2 than day 1.
Right.
And I think it was a great way to keep the audience engaged and involved. And they were 3 great speakers. And then you got to have a deeper dive with them in that breakout after.
Yeah.
So I really like that. I want to recommend that my clients try that because I
Mhm.
think that was pretty compelling and a unique way to do something like that.
Agree. Yes. Yes. Speaking of guests and people, who do we have the pleasure of speaking with today?
Now we've got a pro event person here. We've got was in ESPN she was at ESPN for years in events and media production. She's the founder of Pro Event Tips. She believes deeply in the power of relationships in the events industry. She's a mom. She has her own course. She's your and my new friend, Gabby Robuccio. Welcome to the
Yes. Yes.
stage.
Welcome. Say, we'll give you a round of applause here.
I love
Hi,
how you have
Gabby.
to say the name like this too. You have to.
Yeah.
Anytime
We
there's
must.
2 C's in a name, I got to
We
get
must.
in there. Like
Yeah.
Robuccio. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Welcome,
welcome
Gabby.
to
It's
the
good to see
show.
you.
We're excited to chat with you, learn from you, and see kind of what advice and what wisdom you have. Now, my first question for you, I always have probably a unique first question, right, Mandy? Usually something
Heck
unique.
yeah. Amani, you
Yeah, yeah.
crushed it out the
So
gates.
I
Yeah.
want to know, what is your favorite memory from the 2014 World Cup?
You want personally?
Personal, yes. There's a
I
reason why I'm asking. Go ahead.
My favorite memory was, well, I worked it. For those that don't know, obviously Amani knows. I worked it. I was in Brazil for the World Cup with ESPN. I was there for 8 weeks or so. So I have a lot of memories. But I mean, the best was I saw Spain Chile at Maracana. Like I
Oh,
got to go to the game with
okay.
Ruud van Nistelrooy, humble
Okay.
brag right there,
Yeah.
and got to watch
Yeah.
Spain get eliminated. So
Okay.
it was really fun. But that was, I mean, seeing a football match, a soccer game outside of the US is unlike anything you'll ever experience in your life.
Okay, so I was at the World Cup with you there. 2014, I
You
was
were?
in Brazil. Yes, I saw Argentina versus Nigeria down in Porto Alegre. We saw games in Curitiba. We saw a game in Sao Paulo also. So 3 or 4 games. Amazing, just amazing, amazing experience. So not too many people that I meet in our meeting and events world have been there. So I was so excited to read that and to see. And so now, were you a soccer fan before you started covering the Euros and the World Cup? Did you grow up playing soccer? Can I talk to us about that?
Yeah, so when I was listening to the beginning of your book and you were talking about memories of music as you're going to travel soccer games and all that, I was like, yep. I mean, I don't listen to country music as much now, but I can distinctly remember listening to the Thunder Rolls in the back of my mom's Toyota 4Runner, like going down the highway to one of our travel soccer games. So that when you said that, it definitely hit home. I've played my whole life. I love soccer. I mean, my dad, Ricky Robuccio, we're Forza Azzurri all the way. So we've watched the Italian national team for as long as I can remember. So I was very fortunate when the position in the production management team that opened up was soccer. I mean, the
Yeah.
best world, all of my worlds coming together. So yeah, I was very fortunate. I loved soccer, and I think that actually helped me do really well with that job because it's hard not to. I mean, I
Okay.
just got to drop Ruud van Nistelrooy's name.
Yes, I'm noticing. That we call that in the industry, we call it a flex. That was a flex, a subtle
Yes.
flex right there.
Also, just
So
the fact that you can say it. You said it
Yeah.
successfully 3 times. I'm like Ruud Van Nissel. I would always mess that up. So good for you.
yeah. Yes. So, okay, so that we could go down a soccer rabbit hole, but we'll pause for now. We'll throw it over to Mandy to see where she would like to take us back in the Wayback Machine. I'm sure we're going there.
We're going to the Wayback Machine. I want to talk about ESPN. I think when people hear that, people are like, wow, isn't that sexy? And like everything else, it's hard work. And a lot of it isn't sexy and it's not glamorous. And there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. But I want to hear about your experience at ESPN. What did you do for them? And what were some takeaways from that experience that you apply to your business today?
That's a great question. So at ESPN, I've wanted to work at ESPN since I was, I don't know, yay high. We have pictures of me holding a microphone I'd made because I thought I'd be on the sidelines of NFL games, which I cursed too much for that. So that never would have happened. But it was always my dream job. I went to the University of Connecticut knowing that it was near Stores is near Bristol, which is where ESPN is. And I just went out of my way to make contacts. I joined the television station at UConn because that's what I wanted to do. And somehow, by the grace of whatever in the universe, I was able to make good enough contacts that I was offered a job at ESPN in 2008 during the recession, right after I graduated college. So it was my first job. I started out in the tech room. I worked overnight ingesting tapes, like the outdoor block for Saturday mornings until 4 a.m. But I was there, and that's all I needed. And I started to make contacts, put myself out there, and someone that I met, he worked on Baseball Tonight. I'll never forget this. And he was like, Gabby, you plan all of our friend events, all of our vacations. Every time we have a house party, because a lot of parties at ESPN, you plan it. That's what you do. He's like, there's a job at ESPN that does that. And I was like, tell me more. So they had this role called production coordinator, which is essentially you're assigned to a sport and you do all the logistics for it. So like I didn't do any of the content at the beginning. I didn't do any of the content, but I did all hotel blocks, all the credentialing, all the visas when we left the country. I hired we called them talent, made sure that all the freelancers above the line got paid. So they hired me. I got put on soccer, and I did that for 10 years. I did dabble in some other sports. I did a season of College Game Day, which was phenomenal. I did an NFL draft. I mean, talk about dream jobs on paper. But Mandy, you hit the nail on the head. I got so many questions, and then when I decided to leave that job, so many people are like, "How could you do that? How could you leave ESPN?" And they're like, "You got to travel everywhere. You traveled every weekend." And I was like, I saw a lot of places, but I saw a hotel and a loading dock. So it was, in events, it's busy. You're there from sunup to sundown. You don't normally get to go out and explore the area and have fun, whatever. So I did it for 10 years, traveled all over the world, got a lot of contacts, made a lot of contacts, had phenomenal experiences. But then I was ready. I was like, I did my dream job. I'm ready to try something new. I'm ready to step out. And my husband, my boyfriend at the time, got a job in Utah. So I was like, all right, I'm moving to Utah. So I left my dream job. But it was what I learned from ESPN, I think, that I use now is that the event industry is so vast. I say ESPN, people don't think that's events. I have to explain the logistical part
Mhm.
of it. They're like,
Yeah.
sports TV, that's not events. I'm like, it is, it's events. And then I went to a hospital foundation. That's
Mhm.
events, planning fundraising events. And I think it just opened my eyes to how big this industry is and how many opportunities there are. And also, it gave me a really good perspective on what core principles, talents, skills you need no matter what, sector of events that you're in. So that's definitely something I keep in my mind.
I love that takeaway from that, and I think you're being even a little more humble because as a result of all your hard work at ESPN,
Yes.
it may or may not have earned you an Emmy.
Yes.
Am I
Yes. I
remembering
was
that? Or
about to ask that.
can you tell us about that?
That is my battle. That's my battle scar. That's what I get to show for my season on college game day. So college football game day. That was the single hardest thing I've ever done in my life that season. Yes, a World Cup. I did a Euros in Paris. I did Special Olympics World Games, the first ever broadcast on TV. College game day was the hardest, and I'm going to tell you why. If you watch college football at all, you've watched college game day, we don't know where we're going until the Saturday before.
Yes. Yes.
So city permits, getting the studio, rerouting all the trucks, hiring all the staff, the local, getting the hotels, getting the credentials. We have 6 days to do that. And and it has the most eyes out of the entire network. College Game Day is their baby. So that was the most pressure I've ever had. And I probably learned the most about myself working on that season. And I got the shiny trophy to show for it. So I'll take it.
Is that just one so did you do multiple college game days or you just did one college game day?
I did the season, so we
Oh, you
did
did the
one
whole
every week,
season.
so
Okay, got
the
it,
whole
got it, got
season,
it.
so we find out on Saturday where we're going the next week. We kind of have an idea, not narrowed down to 3, but no, I did a
Yeah.
whole season from beginning to end.
And then
It was a
going
lot.
into that, did you talk to the person that had done it the year before and say, "Okay, what should I expect or what should I know?" Or is it more like you're going at this all alone kind of thing?
So they have a very steady person who's worked on College Game Days for years, a senior production manager. So she's been there. She is phenomenal. She knows inside and out the sport. I did get a chance to talk to the person that did it before me, but as we all know, we went to different schools every year. So a lot of
Yeah.
times they're like, "Well, we've never been to Indianapolis, so good luck, have fun," So I did get to talk. I had the good resource of someone who's been doing it for years, but it was still a toss up for some of those games.
So, like, one of my favorite things about college game day are those signs.
Oh
So,
yeah.
what was the best sign you saw that whole season? Can you remember?
Oh, I don't remember any the signs that I saw. We did a whiteout, the whiteout at Penn State, which is Penn State, Michigan that year, and there were some pretty good signs, but they're Joe Paterno related, so I'm probably not gonna say some of them out loud, but
Can't talk
that
about
was
that.
That's for the
probably
best,
they
yeah.
were the most creative. I think the Penn State fans were definitely the most creative out of that year from what I saw. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
What did you learn about yourself through that process? Because you said you learned the most about yourself during that year.
Cheesy, I can do hard things. I pushed myself to the limit, so I learned what I'm capable of, but I also learned something that I take with me to this day is boundaries. That was my last or second to last year at ESPN. I realized what I could do, but I realized that I didn't want to have to push myself that far. You know what I mean? Like I took away from that. Like you can be incredible, you can do these things, but you don't have to do it forever. Like you can control the pace of what you do because I was burnt out by the end of that
Mm,
season.
mm,
Completely burnt out, which I'm
yeah.
sure happens to everyone who works that sport.
Yes. Yes. And then if we kind of move forward, what inspired you in the environment that we're in now? What inspired you to start your own business at this kind of stage of your career?
That's a great question. So the way this came up because I worked at ESPN for years and my job there was informal job was kind of being a fixer. So when, there's conflict between above the line and below the line on this sport, let's send Gabby, or see what you can do with this. And then I got hired at my corporate healthcare foundation, fundraising events job. And it was, hey, Gabby, there's a conflict with these volunteers. The event is really toxic, but it's our prime de la prime event. So figure out how we can make this work. And as I've taken on all those challenges, I realized I was like, we don't get taught this. We don't get taught managing relationships. And like when I started the work at, as a middle manager for healthcare foundation, I started to get offered leadership classes, emotional training, conflict management. And I was like, where the heck was this 10 years ago when I was in Brazil? It would have completely changed the way I ran events from the beginning. But if you're not a traditional manager, it's not offered. And I was like, our industry is a little weird, events, hospitality, because from day one, you're a manager. Even without the title, you're a leader, you're leading volunteers, you're leading vendors, but we're not taught those skills. We're taught spreadsheets, we're taught how to use CRMs, all that. We're not taught how to be leaders. And I was like, I started to take the lessons I learned from the classes I was getting offered and kind of teaching them to my team or, doing workshops with my team and realizing how much they were benefiting from it. my event specialists were. And I was like, people need this. This is a huge gap in the industry. And I was like, and I can do this. This is like my superpower. Relationships are what I feel confident and comfortable doing. So I want to take this to, the newer event profs, the more seasoned event profs who really are lacking in relationships. Like, I want to teach them. And I'm very fortunate that I have a saint for a husband that was like, I'm all in. Let's go.
Mm.
Mm.
Let's do it. We have kids now at home, and events, you can't really get daycare for events because daycares aren't open at 7 p.m. So he was like, let's see if this works. Do it. I
Mm.
go all in. So I did. And here I am.
Okay. And then the follow would be like, because you've been almost a year, right? You're almost celebrating a year, correct?
Hmm.
Right.
Yep.
So in this last year, what have been the top 2 to 3 lessons you've learned about having your own business?
It's hard, and you have to sell yourself. It's I think my number one lesson that I've learned, which it's I'm not kissing ass, ooh, I swear, but
It's
sales
okay.
tails off,
Yes,
like,
thank you. Yeah.
you have to know how to sell yourself, and
Yeah.
I am not good at that. I don't do well with that. Like, I am fully confident in what I have to offer, but I wanna give it for free. Like, I don't wanna charge people for, like, it's really hard to make it a business and not just a very expensive hobby. That is probably my number one lesson. The other lesson that I learned is how important it is to have connections. Like, you
Mm.
know that, and you say it in theory, but until you're starting a business, you don't really grasp how important your network really is. Your network is your net worth. Is that the
That's
saying?
the
Is that it?
saying.
The
That's
Yes.
saying, yeah.
Yes.
Those
Yes.
are my two main lessons in this year. And if you believe in what you do, you gotta believe in yourself. So I'm
Good
working
lesson.
on that. Which
Okay.
Dr. Jill Stoddard, Mandy recommended that book when she was on The Imposter Phenomenon. That has helped me leaps and bounds. Her episode that
Aw,
she did with
that's
you guys.
Okay.
that's
All right.
great.
See, I'm
Have you
noticing
told her
that Gabby
that?
likes to
Yeah.
do some flexes here. You might have missed the flex she said earlier when she's like, "Oh, when I was listening to your book." I heard that though. I heard that at the beginning of your book.
Oh,
I heard that. And then she did the flex, of course, on Rudeville Nisharoy, that one. And then this is another flex with Jill Stoddard. So I'm liking your style. I'm liking your style. Over to you, Mandy.
I'm not very subtle. I'm not very subtle. I don't know if it's subtle flexes. They're pretty blatant, but no, I'm a
Gabby
fan of you
dro
guys. I'm not shy about that.
Gabby drops the nuggets. Well, I wanna give you a shout out because I wish more people would do this because I think it is a beautiful example of networking. You were just talking about networking and how building relationships is important to you, and you really live by that. So, people may not know, I met Gabby I just looked at my Instagram. Gabby sent me she slid into my DMs June of last year and said, "Your sense of humor speaks to my soul." And I was like, "Oh, that's funny. Who is this?" Well, you look her up, whatever, then you don't know what happens next. Well, Gabby and I started a parasocial relationship. Gabby then asked me, she said, "I'm starting my own business. I'm thinking about attending your Sales Tales live class. I don't know if it's for me. Here's what I'm thinking. Is it for me?" And then we sort of went back and forth of, yes, it is for you. She signed up. So she attended Sales Tales live last year. Well, then, anybody that attends Sales Tales live, like we're going to be friends for life. It's a small class. We go through it together. And then, of course, it's parasocial. It's, connecting here, connecting there. And then I'm like, "What's your business? Tell me all about it. How can I support your business?" Then I was speaking at IMAX. And at the end of IMAX, this woman who I thought I recognized, but I didn't quite know, came up to me and it was Gabby. I met her in real life. She gave me a beautiful handwritten note. I still have it. I put it in my time capsule for that year. Now almost a year later, you're on our podcast, and I've been following your career. I've been following,
Hmm.
ever since you were at Sales Tales Live. I've been following what you've been doing, the course that you've created, and it's been spectacular to see how you've been building your business, but to also see the audience engaging in your business too, like in the comments and your testimonials. So I think like one of your superpowers is building these relationships and going from these parasocial to these in real life relationships. I think that's important. I think people think they're like, "Oh, Amani, I'm not going to send an email to Babyface. He'll never be on the show." But he might. You never know. Or, you just never know how a little reach out can spark. And Gabby put the work in, like you sat on a 90-minute sales live, and then you came to a session. But I'm sure I'm one of many people you're doing this with and building these relationships with. And I've heard you. It has been said before where you say, I think I wrote this quote down here. You said in our industry, the one of the biggest problems with all event people of all ages, seniors and juniors, is clear communication. So why do you think that is a
Hmm.
problem when you are this trophy of clear communication and great networking? Why is it so easy for you, and why do you think it's so difficult for other people?
I love that you just said that. My husband's probably watching and saying, "No, she's not." But,
Oh, wow.
when it comes to
Listen, my
communication,
husband would probably
but
say the same thing.
I think it's and I don't I that's the thing, Mandy, is it's not easy for me. It's something that I have been working on and developing. Like, yes, I was born an extrovert. I was born loving people and talking to people and putting myself out there. So I did have that in my corner. But professional relationships, networking professionally, it's very different than just being able to tell a joke at a bar and make people laugh. So I don't think that I'm naturally good at it. It's something that I constantly have to work on. So I think the main thing that makes me probably more advanced than other people or appear to be better at it is that I put a lot of pride in the fact that I can take feedback,
Mm.
positive, negative. I am always open to be criticized, corrected, or commended. And I don't take positive, compliments very well, but it's something that I am constantly working on and very self aware when I'm receiving feedback to take it, whatever it is. Because no matter if it's positive or negative, it's a gift. If it's negative, you got to get down to the root of it because there's something in there, no matter what it's wrapped in, there is a nugget there. So I think being able to take feedback is probably what makes me appear to be better at it than I probably am.
That's good.
That's what
It's
I
hard.
would say.
I think that's beautiful to say because some people think, "Oh, like, oh, you're lucky, you just got it." And I think it's really awesome to be like, "Listen, I'm working at this every day. It might look like I
Mhm.
got it, but I'm working hard at it every
Yeah.
day." I love that you're honest about that. I tell people or tell us what is Pro Event Tips.
So what it is I call it a event management consulting company. So what I do is I have workshops, keynotes, which I haven't done yet, but I have an amazing one written and I'm putting myself out there. So if anyone's listening, but and then I do one-on-one consultations and I'm about to release corporate consultations, but I work with event professionals and hopefully internal event teams to navigate all the different stakeholder relationships. So the two times that people reach out to me is there's a breakdown in a relationship with sponsors, vendors, internal team, or it's an event professional who's having trouble being heard or having trouble establishing these types of relationships. I have um, the system I call the real event relationship system that I use um, to try and help people better develop their relationships and kind of mend ones that are already broken or start off on a better foot. So that's what I'm working on right now. And it's only been a year, so I'm still building, getting my visibility, but I'm having a lot of fun doing it. So
That's awesome.
Interesting. So you called yourself a fixer. Do you all remember the first time I heard what a fixer was this movie? Bridget Fonda was in the movie. Her character's name was Nina Simone. What was I think it was The Point of No Return. Then they brought in the fixer to fix up something. I'll look it up in a minute, but they brought up a fixer. So, as a fixer, what are some of your favorite tools and platforms to use to fix things, stay organized, and just be supreme in your execution of logistics?
this is a great question, and I'm going to expose myself a little bit here. Is that when it comes to tools and platforms, there isn't really one developed yet for managing different stakeholder relationships. There's clients, there's customers, there's all the CRMs, but there isn't really internal teams cross departmental. So I am a Google Doc. That's what I use. It's not very technically advanced, my little spreadsheet that I swear by, but um, I am very deliberate about keeping track of the different touch points that I have with certain people. It's very important to me to remember facts about people as my, my flexes I've done here, because it's very important to me to understand people so they know that I'm intentional and that I care. So I do keep notes in a Google Doc. It's a massive, obnoxious Google Doc that I probably need to update into the 21st century, but that's what I use right now as far as platforms. But when it comes to like my secret weapons, they're outside of the computer. They're asking questions.
Mm,
They're having open conversations. Like a lot of the tools that I use are in your face. When I'm doing a relationship audit with my clients or having them do a relationship audit, it's a conversation. There's notes there to reference, but it's talking things out because I feel like that part of humanity is dissipating a little bit, which there's pros and cons to that, but I feel like taking it outside of the computer, making eye contact, asking genuine open questions, and then listening, I mean, that's my number one, and then I put it in my little Google spreadsheet. So I don't really have any fancy tools. Did that answer your
okay.
question, or
Yeah,
I go rogue?
that works. That works. That's the answer. And then when you're looking ahead, like 3 to 5 years for pro event tips, like what is your vision? What are your goals for the company?
My goals, so I want to go back to some of the corporations that I've worked with and hopefully some event associations and stuff. And I want to be doing 6 month, year long, quarterly consultations. I want to be getting in front of event profs who are in these high demand, fast paced jobs. And I want to be helping them and their teams build foundations for good relationships. Because if you have that structure, everything else is a little bit easier. Burnout's a little farther away. You feel far more supported, which is what I wish I had. So I want to work with the production management team at ESPN. I want to work with Special Olympics International. I want to do some event associations. That's where I see myself in the next 5, 10 years. And then, of course, I want to be on stage. That's the ultimate goal.
Okay. Well, you're
Mm.
talking to two keynote speakers here.
I know
Now, how did you recover from burnout?
that. Oh, that's a great question. I didn't do a great job. I we This is so funny. It's coming up Mental Health Awareness month, and there's companies like Event Minds Matter out there doing some phenomenal things. I got to some really dark places when I was at ESPN, and I was just completely burnt out. In the events industry, a lot of people end up with their job and the events that they do being their whole identity. Like ESPN was me. It was how I introduced myself. And the thought of leaving, I was like, well, who am I? I'm just going to be Gabby. I'm not going to be Gabby that works at ESPN that gets quizzed on, name 7 players on the Steelers every time she goes out to, because people don't believe she likes sports. Like, I
Yeah.
loved that. I didn't have that. And so I stayed far longer than I should have. And I got to some really dark places where I didn't know that I was going to be able to get out of it. So therapy, everybody should be in therapy. I firmly believe that, like having an outside person perspective to talk to. But I discovered running, and running
Oh.
was my saving grace. It was 30 minutes to 3 hours a day, whatever, depending on how long the run was, that I didn't answer my phone. I mean, I was answering in the middle of the night. I would get out of the shower to answer a phone if someone was calling me. I almost name dropped again. I didn't. But running, you can't do that. I turned it off. I have a podcast or music on, and I would go, and it forced me. You guys, I think, did an episode on, the somatic breathing with
Mm.
Seppi. That running makes you do that. So I started running. I started learning how to breathe. I started learning how to clear my head and kind of take a step back. And that's when I was like, I've done all I can do here. I have a shiny trophy. I've worked my dream events. I mean, I did a World Cup and a Euros. I did Special Olympics. And I was like, I think it's time for me to take a step back. So it took like physical recovery
Yeah.
for me to emotionally recover, which
Uh,
sounds really silly out loud, but that's really what it
no,
was.
Ooh, I think
it
it
is.
sounds powerful out lound, right? That's a good quote. Kelly, are you listening? That's a great quote. That's a great quote. I want to ask you about your course because I know I
Yeah.
had sent somebody on my team over to the course. So tell us about the course. How did you create it? What was it all about? How did it go?
Well, I think I'm speaking to the master here, Mr. Amani. Don't you have a course that you just created,
This is true. This is
which
true.
I'm
I'm
excited
a
for?
developing master, but yes. Thank you for that compliment. Carry on.
So I just saw that mini episode that earlier today. That's why it was fresh in my head. But what it was it's a master class that I now have as an evergreen, but it was an introduction to a course that I have created that is basically just the fundamentals, like the three pillars of relationship management, effective communication, emotional intelligence, persuasion, the things that I think are the most important. And it's kind of just an introduction to what I do and why I think it's so important and how it can benefit everybody in the hospitality industry, because it's all of those things but catered specifically to what we do every day, because it is very different. This
Yeah.
industry.
And who
Yeah.
attended? Who attended it? Like whether it's a job title or a experience level, like who attended that when you did that online?
So I had some brand new people who were just starting out in the events industry, some people who were that I had talked at their school before that joined. And then I had people who had been doing this for 15, 20 years that came in and were listening, and that actually gave me some, that they got some pretty good takeaways. I got some good feedback from that. So it was generic enough that it doesn't matter where you are in your events career. It's something that you have to continually learn and work on, so no matter where you are, it can benefit you. Like, this
Mhm.
stuff is the foundation, and it's never too late to start building a foundation, especially when it comes to personal development.
Yeah. And what do you think a couple takeaways for them were? Because you probably have, and Amadi, you probably do this too. Like you think in your mind, I know I do this with my sales lives. Like I have clear takeaways that I think people will get out of it, but then people tell me, oh, I got this out of it, like an unintended consequence. Did anybody share some of those with you that you were like, wow, you're smart. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so I think what resonated the most with people was what I did a section on feedback and being able to take feedback. And it felt like common sense to me. But people were like, there were a couple quotes that I put in there that people were like, that's what I'm missing. I don't, I think I know everything, or I know the way I want to do something. Or if somebody comes at me with negative feedback and they're pissed off, I write it out. Whereas it was more strip it back, take out the personal pieces of it and actually hear what they're saying. And, 8 times out of 10, I would say you're going to actually get something beneficial that can help you. So that feedback. And then there was one quote that I had in there that people posted the most after. And it was, if you ask for an opinion, you're going to get a critic. If you ask for advice, you're going to get a partner. And that
Mm.
was my number one. It's like, when you're asking people questions, don't ask them an opinion. The way you approach people makes a huge difference in how they respond. If you say, what do you think of this? You're asking them to give you a critique. Whereas if you say, this is the data that I have, this is what I want to implement, how would you do it? You ask their advice, you're going to get a far more positive and collaborative, productive answer, rather than, this is what sucks about your idea. So that was the quote that I saw, the screenshot that was reposted the most. And I have that written on my wall in my office. So I was glad people took that away. But I just kind of had it on there as a throwaway slide because I love that quote, but that resonated the most with people, I think.
That's
Yep.
awesome. It's
Yep.
awesome.
Kelly, mark that one too. Mark that one
Well,
too, Kelly.
poor Kelly. Kelly's like, I can't
Yes.
stand this.
Yes. So we have come to the time in the show, Gabby, where we flip the script and allow you to ask both myself and Mandy a question. Any question you like to ask, nothing is off limits. So who do you want to ask the question to first, and what is said question?
Okay, so I have two options for each of you. I have like a silly, fluffy one, or I have like a pretending you're my mentor, ask business question. So, Mandy, which one do you want? Do you want the
Oh
fluffy,
boy.
fun one, or do you want the like business?
Why don't Amani pick which one should she ask, and then I'll pick for you. This will be fun.
So ask Mandy the business mentorship question.
Okay, so I have them written down because my memory is terrible. So as me, someone who's building a really niche consulting business, I'm having a little bit of trouble or constantly refining talking about what I do. how do you, because you're so good at it, how do you sell an intangible service? Especially when like the work speaks louder than like any sales pitch I can put online. When I talk to people and do the work, like how do you sell the intangible? That's what I'll say.
I think you just did it by sharing the takeaways, the unintended takeaways from your session. I mean, I think when you're selling a niche like yours, people need to feel and experience the results. And I think you have to share testimonials, you have to share quote boxes, share clips, put those in your proposals, put those in your signature lines, keep your antennas up for those when you're at networking events and say, another one of my clients experienced the exact same thing. And here's how he went about it. Just really make what you're doing relatable to other people. But then I would also get in front, like you're talking about what you're doing. And Amani, I don't know if you're thinking about this. In my head, I'm like, she'd be a great speaker at WeCon. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, she's moving to Colorado. She's
Yeah.
got to get involved with the Site Mountain West chapter,
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
get on the stages, offer your services, get on a panel, and people, what you're offering is really good and really needed, but you have to put it into practice because people don't understand it until they actually feel it. That would be my first suggestion. The second thing is get really good at your 20-second or less pitch. Like, Gabby, what do you do? 20-second or less.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to change depending on the audience, right? But like, get really good at that produce aisle speech, that produce aisle pitch, and get really good at sharing that produce aisle pitch with people that love you, because those are the people that want you to succeed. And when you're not around, they're going to be talking on your behalf. And then advocate, find those people that are going to advocate for you. When you finally get that produce aisle pitch down, like send me that video if you want. I will gladly share what you do with other people. Like share have your advocates out there for you too.
And all entrepreneurs, listen, that's great advice. Like that for anyone that's starting out or going from tangible to intangible, thank
Mm-hmm.
you. That's very
Yeah.
helpful. That's so
And
selfish. I'm like, be my mentor
well, no,
No.
this is why
on
we
this
do
call.
it. This is
Perfect.
why we do
Yeah.
it. That's why we have you on. We're asking you, you're giving us an hour and you're answering all of our questions. You're our master class right now. We're happy to answer one, that no problem. Okay.
Okay.
All right, Amani, what do you want?
I want Amani to do a business mentor one too.
What about the light and fluffy one?
Well, Amani, we could do the light. What would you prefer, Amani?
Go ahead. We'll do both. Go ahead.
Okay.
We'll do both.
Do both for Amani.
Yes. Yes. We'll do
Okay, so my serious one is the work that you do. I mean, this is hospitality related, this conversation, but you've worked with so many different people across so many different industries. I want to know from you, what's one trait that you notice in someone that instantly says, this person's going to be great to collaborate with, or this is someone that I want to work with in the future? Like, what screams that to you?
I would say the follow-up, their follow-up. I think that's a good one there. You see if they follow up or like you give them a assignment or something to do and they follow up with it or ask questions, they don't leave you wondering if they're completing it. I think that's a great sign. That's a great sign. Also, if they're curious, if they ask good questions, not just asking random questions, but if they ask good questions, they have a good sense of curiosity, that'd probably be number 1B, so to speak. Those are the two that jump off the page right away.
Curiosity. That's a good one. I wouldn't have pegged that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you want the fluffy one?
Yes.
The
Tell
fun
us the
one?
light fluffy one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your fluffy one is, if your like DJ life had a soundtrack, what would the opening track be, and like what would it be playing over? What's the scene that would be running behind your opening track? I don't know where this question came from. I was driving yesterday.
Okay, opening track would be Paid in Full, Eric B. and Rakim. That's my walkout song.
Mhm.
What would it be playing over? Maybe like a movie scene. We could be in a lounge. We could be like in a tropical location. How about it's playing
Is that
over a
the life
lounge
of
in a
Amani?
tropical location? Yes.
That's great. And Mandy, you want your fluffy one just because it's fun?
Yes, Mandy does. Yes.
Sure.
And yours was, okay, if there's a movie about you, your business journey, because, your many superpowers and you've worn so many hats, who do you want to play you, and what would the tagline for your movie be?
Oh. Like a 30-year-old Janine Garofalo. I would, if we could like turn back the times, I love Janine. Even like a modern day. I just saw her stand up a couple years ago. She's phenomenal. I love Janine Garofalo.
She's funny. Yeah.
I think she could do the serious and the funny stuff and handle all the shenanigans and weird stuff that's happened in between. And then what was the other question about it?
What's your tagline? What would the tagline for your movie, The
Oh,
Life of Mandy, be?
oh man. She really
I'm
she really
stumping you, I know.
she really saw it all and she just kept giggling. Like it's just I mean, I don't know. I just made that up.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's other taglines, but
That work?
I like
yeah,
that.
I think that works. I think that works. I want to switch gears. Those were good. Gabby, thanks for being so prepared for those. Those were super fun. I want to switch gears really quick to personal stuff because you're a mom and you're lifing and you're working and you're 1 year into your business and you're about to move. And I think we all know in this industry, balance is BS, right? There's no way we're gonna have work-life balance. We're just gonna prioritize the stuff that works best for us at that time. We're just gonna do our best. But what are some pro hacks that you do or some things that you're just trying on for size that help you live your best life, be your best wife, be a best mom, be a best business owner? What are some things you've been working on for yourself?
It's a great question, and it's not easy. And whatever I'm going to say here is probably not going to work for everyone. I don't even know that it's working for me. But I think my number one right now is don't try to be all at once. When I'm great founder of Pro Event Tips, not the best wife, probably not a great mother. When I'm all in on my kids, I'm not as worried about being a business owner. There was a time in my life where having it all doesn't mean doing it all, and I thought it did for a long time. So something that I am trying to be really intentional about is when you're doing something, be all in on that something and make sure you make time for all of those somethings. Like my family has time, my poor husband doesn't, but that'll come after the move. There's a lot going on. But like my business has time, my kids have time. And when I'm doing one of those, I don't try to do everything else. And another thing, I probably got this from you, Mandy, but it's schedule the time. Like in, I think you were talking about it when you were going through balancing all the doctors, and it was like pick the top 5 most important things, get those done. And then if you have time for all the fluffy stuff, do it. So it's being really intentional about how you're using the time you get. When you're a mom, you get what, an hour and a half when the baby's sleeping. Do you shower? Do you clean? Do you do a little work? What's the most important thing to get done that day? Make your list, do those first. The rest of the stuff is a bonus. And
Mhm.
don't try and do everything all at once.
Yeah, and those
That was the
they
hardest
change.
lesson for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those priorities change every day. Like one day you're like, I don't need a shower, but I need to do this. Or the other day you're like, I need a shower. Like every day it's different, probably. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was this morning. My husband, I was like, "Nope, you're not going to the gym this morning. I need to shower before I go. These people could probably smell me through the computer." So it's just about balancing.
Yeah.
And it changes about 8 times every day during the day.
Yeah. Yeah. All at Once, a famous song by Whitney Houston. When you say that, I think of that. See music. Okay, question from the audience. Kelly has a question for us. She says, Gabby, what skills do you think aspiring event leaders should start developing now to future-proof their careers?
What a great question. And my first answer is probably not what people would expect, but it's emotional intelligence.
Mm,
You can't be a good leader and you can't be a good event prof if you aren't able to manage your own emotions. And once you're able to manage your own emotions, recognize your own triggers, positive or negative, you're able to get ahead of them, get a handle on them, and that allows you to be more aware and open and helpful to the people around you. You have to understand yourself before you could be a good leader. And I think that's not something a lot of people are taught. They just expect us to be good at it, but it's hard. It is
yeah.
very hard, and it's being very vulnerable.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, yeah, building on that though, you do this really fun thing where you do myths and facts. So, what are some relationship management myths out there that you want to bust?
That being a good event professional means you have to be a pushover and say yes to everyone. That is a myth. I think we have to be willing to compromise, yes, but boundaries are so important, and boundaries are probably one of the best ways to develop trust in a relationship. People see them as a weakness, like, oh, you can't work on a Sunday night, you don't care about my project. No, I'm going to give you my all Monday through Friday until 5 p.m., but Sunday is when I'm with my kids. That is the best way to develop trust, as long as you're talking about it and discussing it ahead of time. That is my number one myth that I hear from people. The other one is that I'm a broken record now, but oh, you work in events, you're good at that. You're good with people. You can manage relationships. Yeah, I can manage relationships, but I can't do 50 high complex relationships all at once. It's like a muscle you constantly have to be flexing and developing. Those are the two biggest ones that I get all the time. Like, oh, event people are people's people. Yes, but this is not natural to anyone, what we're asked to do, no matter
Ah,
what.
yeah,
Now,
great answer.
if we go back to Stores, Connecticut, and we're sitting there in a coffee shop about a day after you've graduated, and you're going to
Mhm.
talk to young Gabby and give her advice based on everything you've learned so far in life and in professional world, what advice would you give your younger self?
I would tell her to not second guess herself so much. The bet on yourself. No matter what, you're gonna win if you bet on yourself. And don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to get embarrassed. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. It's not gonna work out every time, and that's okay. I was appearance was everything to me, and young Gabby was afraid to even look like she didn't have it all together. Who cares? No one has it all together at all. So don't be afraid to fail, because putting yourself out there is the only way you're going to get out there. And bet on yourself. Always bet on yourself, because you can't count on anyone else to do that.
Very well said. Mandy, over to you to close us out.
How can we support you? How can we lift you up? How can we all get a little more pro event tips in our world?
I would say keep your eye on my LinkedIn. I have some big, like I dropped it on here, some corporate packages that are coming out that I'm super excited about. I have some wins that I've had behind the scenes on some of my one-on-one stuff that's happening that I'm going to be sharing, and it's turning into some bigger things. So I'd just say send people to my LinkedIn and talk to me. If you have questions about this stuff, if you anything I said resonated, please reach out. I mean, I am the stereotype. I love talking to people. I love helping. I love answering questions. So just engage. I love building my network too. So I'm always happy to respond to questions, comments, criticism,
Awesome.
whatever it is.
Awesome. Well, we have I know we have your LinkedIn rolling on on our ticker, but if people are just listening, give us your Instagram handle. How can people follow you? How can people track you down?
Well, I love my Instagram. I'm doing better with that, which I'm trying to be as funny as Mandy, but I don't have homemade gifts yet, but we're getting there. It's Pro Event Tips. So it's PROEVENT TIPS. So Pro Event Tips. Follow me there. And also reach out on there if you have any questions. I slid into Mandy's DM, so please feel free to do it to me.
Awesome.
Yes.
Pay it forward, friends.
Pay it forward. Well, thank you for being with us on the show. We need to talk offline because Manny and I can both help you with your speaking and getting you onto the right stages sooner than later. So make sure we do that. Everyone, just make sure you follow Gabby, her company, her personal LinkedIn. And we appreciate what you're bringing to the industry and can't wait to have our hands on your back as you ascend to the universe. That's
Thank
what
you
you say,
both
right?
very
Yes.
much.
You're welcome. We'll give
Thank
you a
you.
round of applause here. I said
Yeah,
that right, didn't I, Mandy?
that was
Hands on the back,
beautiful.
right?
I
Yes.
saw it. I saw
Yes.
it. I saw you lifting her up. It was cute. It was beautiful. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Round of applause here for Gabby.
Thanks for being here, Gabby. Thank you for tuning in to Adventures in Business. Don't forget to rate and review our podcast on the platform that you're currently listening it on. And don't forget to share it with your friends and anybody that might be as much of the business nerds as Amani and I are. See you next time for another captivating interview.